that the one in the valley?
Yeah, in Santa Clarita, like in a humongous tract.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but then she just texted me. She's like, I just reduced the price one.
Yeah, anything that's gonna sell it, that would be so free.
Send it again. Great. Because this guy, her seller, it's like a single guy and they were in escrow. And the buyer got cold feet and they fell out like 2 days into escrow. And so it's really like trying to sell it.
How much did they reduce it to? I mean, how much did
It
they
was
reduce?
originally listed for 1.4 something.
That's a lot. So they're down to
Or
1.1.
1.14, sorry.
Okay.
1.49 something. Then they were in, I don't know what the price was that the buyer was,
Need to come in and do mulch.
like that, whatever the accepted offer was,
Yeah.
the last buyer, and then it went back on for
So extend first.
1.38, which is still the lowest in that whole community
Yeah.
looked, and it's also one of the bigger models. Its location is not ideal,
That it was
but
free of,
none of them really are because it's attracting
yeah,
neighborhoods.
so I would just ask,
It wasn't
just a little bit. If
Yeah, but it's like a 3,000 square foot home, it's 3 bedrooms.
ask them if-
So the option, it's closed off the office, up front, and make it a bedroom.
Yeah.
But in closet, the half bathroom, and you could have a 4-3 instead of a 3-2.5.
So
It's huge, it's done pretty well, and
Yes.
customized for like a cracked home. Really nice. Great.
it was,
Side.
and it was the.
You get a yard, it's not private, that's the one thing.
So there should have been a lab, should have been lab results.
Landscaping, maybe.
Can look at your backyard.
You gotta.
Right, so there was lab,
Neighbor, like this is your.
there were samples that were sent to a lab
Little bit of.
to determine that it was mold.
See the neighbor.
And then the company came in and remediated it.
But it's also like if.
And then-
you're already going in there.
Came back and did.
You're already interested in being. Community.
See if they did all that.
I think.
Yep.
And like all the other ones that are for sale are also right next to neighbors, and some of them are even further down, so.
Some people
Fire. It's gonna.
Yeah, it's
As their.
weird, it's a little bit uncanny.
Yeah.
For me, like uncanny valley.
Are you going to do it this weekend?
I don't- Depends on. I was mostly asking Abe because like sometimes so one random events that we can go to, he said, I say.
No, it's a fine.
I might do it.
There you go.
Because it's always good to like have one.
Are we gonna do the listing there?
I don't mind going up there. It's
Yeah.
not like it's exciting.
Just tell me whatever you.
Yeah, at least I'm like doing something, even if no one shows up again. But it
Yeah.
also feels like,
So we can.
I don't know, with price, it's right. Wow.
Okay, so that's fine. So all they need to do is.
Like, got neighborhood, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
You're on the end of a cold stack. It's like little benefits to it.
Hopefully, if you go with the people show up.
Right after class.
Yeah. like-
I'll just go over the listing agreement.
There.
And it's really easy, just basically.
But I don't want to print this.
page of- On the last page, they're gonna add your name. And then they're gonna check the box, to book this representative and sell it. And it's gonna pull up an additional broker account, an ABA. And then that's it. It's gonna be one form that comes on. And you'll sign that form. That's pretty much it. It's not complicated at all, And then you'll get a copy of it. You'll sign that. And then it goes into command. So, but I'm happy to with you right after class. That's easy.
Is there a lease listing?
There is a lease listing agreement, so I have it here.
If I could take it in
Okay, so you have my share from
wherever else.
Yeah, so I.
Would be perfect. Okay, so
I'd buy that.
3,000 square feet house, that's big.
Yeah, with the option to make a 4th bedroom. Or you just make it into like a nice office. It's literally like it's like a really good
Yeah.
layout for like.
So you are the man, you're right on time, so you're.
What it is.
Starting with the title.
Exterior is horrendous.
Okay. Plus,
So, if you go into my leasing. So I have done I have the lease checklist here with all the forms that you need.
Oh, come on.
And then
I don't remember.
gotta fill everything.
Okay.
Okay, get all the work for
And I like just changed
you.
it.
I actually have this already printed in my office, I can give it to you.
Oh, Lord.
If you're already.
yeah. No one has.
Excuse me.
Maybe you change it. every.
My wife, yes.
Somebody was.
My wife has her own business. She helps people move out.
Yeah, that's what you said. So maybe I need to-
Yeah, she helps people move out. Sounds like a crazy business, but yeah, that's what she does. So,
Yes, that's probably somebody.
yeah, so she goes into a house and she'll go into like border situation, like crawling through stuff. She'll go through everything, either with the homeowner there or not. She'll separate everything into, she won't throw anything out without permission. Trash pile, auction pile. But there could be, people she brings in for collections. And then she has also relationships with auction agencies. So, and then she can also do estate sales, even if it's new market.
Okay.
So it just depends on what
You have-
she does. I'll give you her number.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
I never promote her. People use her.
Yeah.
She promotes me. She promotes.
You should do it. Ancient.
It's smooth. So.
Thank you so
No
much.
problem. So I do a lease class. If anyone is going to be working on a lease soon, I have a lease checklist here, lease, a whole lease thing. So for any kind of contract that you guys need to do, I'm gonna have a checklist. I'm gonna have exactly how to fill out the contract. And my notes, like. So anything you need, I have it. Yep. This is for leases. Now leases were not part of the NAR settlement. The NAR settlement, basically, there's the old way of doing things and the new way of doing things. The old way was brokers, a broker would sign a listing agreement for the full commission, and then they would share that commission with a cooperating broker. That's the old way. We don't do that way anymore. The new way is sellers pay commissions to listing agents, buyers pay commissions to buying agents, and that's how it's done. Now, when a buyer writes an offer, there's going to be terms in the offer. They want the seller to pay for transfer taxes. They want the seller to pay the HOA fees. They want the seller to pay the buyer's broker commission. Okay, so that's going to be one of the terms of an offer. That's how it is now. All right. So in today's class is escrow, title, and lender. So real quick, we're going to talk about escrow. Escrow, whenever you guys think escrow, think neutral party. That's how you think about escrow. They are completely neutral. They are not favoring the buyer, favoring the seller. Anything they do has to be in agreement by both sides. And usually a listing agent will want to, they want to be the decision maker on who the escrow company is. Usually, you can always ask, you should ask for a good escrow company. So Pele at Cannon Hills is a great escrow officer. We ask for when we write our offers. But sometimes, a lot of times, you're going to see an agent that's been in the business a while is going to insist on using their escrow. Why? So they don't have a bad escrow. Because if you have a bad escrow officer, nothing's getting done in time. Everything's late, closing late, this is late, that's late. Like it's a nightmare, and you'll probably never deal with your client again. They're going to remember a horrible experience, and they're not going to use you again. So when you have a good escrow officer, things are getting done on time, and you don't realize it. So one of the things that you don't realize is title. Title, you don't know what a great title officer is or what title does until you have an issue. And then you're gonna find out how really important it is to have a good title officer. We in our office are blessed with the best title officer in the entire country. I'm not saying that lightly. Lauren Goldman back here with First American is the top title agent in the country. So Lauren, please come on up,
Yes.
please.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, you are who you are. Oh, I want to tell you something about prospecting too. So I started 20 years ago and I was using a certain title agent. I'm a loyal person. And Lauren would come into my open house in Beverlywood. And he'd be like, JJ, how you doing? I'd be like, Lauren, I'm not wasting your time. I'm using this title agent. You know, I'm just not wasting your time. You're a great guy, but I'm loyal to this person. Lauren would say, no problem, JJ. You know, I'm here for you if you need me. Then I'd have an open house at a different house. He'd come in. I'd be like, why is he coming here? Like, I already told him that I'm not using him. So he'd come in, talk to me, look at the house. Okay. I'd have an open house at a different house. So Lauren would come. And he did this for, I think, a year. And it's persistence overcomes resistance. Okay. That's one of my mottos. Actually, Lauren's motto. He doesn't know it. Maybe he does. He practices it. Persistence overcomes resistance. I started using Lauren and I've been hooked. Like Lauren is awesome. So I just want to tell you, like from a prospect, don't take no for an answer. Lauren is me and Lauren go back obviously a long time. And Lauren has done things that other title officers can't. So start with that.
Thank you. Can you blame me for chasing them?
So Lauren, what is title insurance? What is title? What is it?
What's title? Title is insurance, right? So everything is going to be colored in the lens of an insurance company. I don't care what kind of insurance, but we try to mitigate or lessen risk. What kind of risk? The risk of the things in a real estate transaction that go down, like who signs for the property, what loans on the property, what taxes are on the property, what recorded documents are on the property, how title is transferred and all the documents and everything within the escrow that go with it to ultimately ensure the buyer that they're getting this title from the seller clean of any liens, encumbrances, proper signatures, that everything was done right. So there's no unwinding the deal. Once it's done, it's done. And if there's any mistakes in the title, judgments, taxes, recorded documents that are missed, anything, you name it, the insurance kicks in. We cut it clean from seller to buyer. At the end of the day, you can record any document you want. You can record a document from A to B. Perfectly fine, perfectly legal. Just not, if it's not insured, it's not an insured transfer, then that person, when they go to sell or refinance the property, won't be able to. The title insurance company at that point will roll it all the way back to the last insurance and then clean it up going forward. And if there's no insurance in a transaction, you can imagine how far you'll have to roll it back and what that entails. Chase people who may no longer be around. They certainly don't own the property anymore. We need signatures, all kinds of things. So it is the marketability of the property. Title insurance is your true ownership of the property.
When a buyer says, I want clean title, what does that mean?
It's just a catch-all.
Is that a clear answer? I mean, is it a clear
It's a
question?
catch-all phrase, clean title. It just means that the seller is able to deliver title, big umbrella of what that means, but to deliver title to the buyer free and clear of any clouds, meaning, listen, title won't let it close if there's a cloud. Cloud is just any issue that is left unresolved. We won't let it close, but to deliver it to the buyer, ultimately will be the owner who will be my insured at the end of the transaction. With, again, the right signatures, the loans guaranteed to be paid off, the taxes whether it's supplemental regular taxes, a judgment, IRS, franchise tax board, you name it. Or again, a big thing is a missed document. If a document is supposed to be there and it's not, and then the buyer goes to do whatever they want to do with the property and that document is found and stops them or harms them or diminishes the value of the property in any way, buyer places a claim against title. So free and clear is this again catch-all phrase. Delivered to the buyer, clean up all the stuff that needs to be cleaned up during the escrow and to transfer it properly.
So. Okay. So as a buyer. You want your buyers to have a title policy when they close on a property. The lender is gonna make sure that they also have title insurance, right? So what is a lender's concern?
So in a transaction where there's a loan, first of all, if there is no loan, no lender to give title insurance to, so the buyer's not paying for that policy to cover their lender.
So the seller is gonna usually pay for the buyer's title insurance.
Right, in a cash transaction, the seller traditionally, there's no law, but in SoCal, traditionally, the seller will pay for the title policy that benefits the buyer, called an ALTA homeowner policy in the car contract, and everybody basically delivers that same policy. It's a very good policy, by the way. So seller pays for that for the buyer in a cash transaction, in any transaction. But if there's a loan, the buyer will pay for a title insurance policy for the benefit of their lender. The seller pays for insurance based on the sale price. The buyer pays for the title policy to the lender based on loan amount. So the lender is looking for the right borrower to be insured, the right legal description. Most of all that they're interested in, to cut to the chase, is that they're a first position deed of trust. That there's no other lien judgment, anything in front of them that could be paid off before that loan. If they need to foreclose or something happens, they are first in line with their handout to be paid. Plus, they also want to guarantee that it's a first. If there's any issues with it not being a first, they have insurance, and therefore lenders can package up this financial instrument, the loan, and sell it on Wall Street and do other things with it because they're guaranteed a first position.
So I wonder, like, I know everyone learned that when they were studying for their licenses, but I'm not sure it made 100% sense. So in real estate, things that are recorded against a property take precedence the earlier they're recorded. So if I make a loan to someone on their property and I record my loan, I'm recorded as of today, September 25th, 2024. If someone gives a loan after me, they get paid after I get paid. So when the seller sells their property, whatever money is there, I get paid first. Then anyone who's loaned money on the property after me gets paid after me. And then it goes in succession by recording date. Whatever money's left, that goes back to the seller. But
Taxes goes first, right?
every taxes
year.
always come first. Taxes come first, then the lender in order recording. So what Lauren is saying is he's ensuring the lender that they're in first position. That's very important to a lender, right? So if I'm in the lending business, I want to have insurance, ensuring my priority payment in position. What position am I in? Okay, is that, got it?
So you guarantee that.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Does anyone has anyone gotten any questions from clients about title, anything? So Lauren, so when should an agent reach out to you when they're talking to us? At what point should an agent reach out to you?
When you're talking to a seller, the first thing to do is reach out to me and let me get you a property profile. That is not an actual title report, but it's basically a snapshot of the property, grant deed, any deeds of trust, taxes, comparables. It's the one with bed, bath, square footage, all that stuff. So a property profile will will enable you to size up the property and the sellers to see kind of what you got. If there's a notice of default, we'll find it. If there's a lawsuit, we'll find it. It is not a full search of the title, but it's enough to get you going to have that initial appointment. When you get the listing, then you call me and we order the title report. It's going to take a couple days to do. It comes to you, and that's the actual, it's preliminary, will turn into a policy at closing, but it's what we're willing to guarantee. And at that point, you'll have the easements to see. So you'll get more into the weeds of what's there on the title. You get all the documents on the title chain. You get them hyperlinked. You get the easements on the property plotted. You'll have basically a disclosure item that you can hand over to a buyer who writes an offer. And then that prelim can follow you to escrow and take it the rest of the way.
In a condo, if the grant deed has a property description for a condo, parcel 1, parcel 2, parcel 3. Parcel 1 is the actual condominium. Parcel 2 are the parking spaces, and parcel 3 is the storage. Do you insure that?
We insure the legal description. Okay. Don't think that they are tax parcels. It's just a common misunderstanding. This is not, each one of those do not generate a tax bill. In a condo, you just get a tax bill. You have one assessor parcel number, but the property is described as parcel 1, parcel 2. In a title report, you will see fee as to parcel 1, the unit. You own fee title within your walls. There will be an easement parcel 2 for common area, an easement parcel 3 for parking, an easement parcel 4 for storage. So we insure the legal description, but storage and parking get backed out of the insurance, meaning no title company covers storage and parking. Why is that? Because it is a major loss all day long. So all title companies have taken that out because I think we can all agree in a condominium building, after all of these years, the parking gets mishmashed and the legal description may say you have spaces P1 and P2, but in reality, they're using somebody else. And is that a claim? Are you able to get money for that? No, we all back out parking because it's the Wild West down there.
So I wanted you guys to know that, and I wanted to hear Lauren's take, but understand, like, the building could rearrange parking for everybody, right? Or
Exactly.
maybe 20 years ago, so-and-so owner switched parking, or there was someone that owned 2 different units and they switched the parking for them, right? So that happens all the time.
There's a lot now. Somebody wants to be by the stairs. Somebody wants to be by the charger, for the electric car. Yeah, it's
Happens in apartments too,
yeah, it happens in apartments.
time.
And to trace back or to chain back the documents to see truly who owns what the documents say is a road that we don't go to.
Just out of curiosity, does title have anything to do with the land slipping and torrents? So those people are just out. If you own a property and it slides down a hill,
It's not property or casualty insurance. It's the condition of title.
State doesn't insure for them? Don't have any.
I mean, your property slides down the mountain collapses.
If your house gets red tagged,
Insure this house.
if your house gets red tagged, there's insurance for that, but not due to an event like from a violation of a building permit. Correct. Of the policy that's covered. Not a flood, a hurricane, because you're red tagged, or a slide that you're red tagged, or, an airplane part drops in your, no.
What about a leak? I have a family friend who's their entire house,
Property casualty. It's property insurance.
Wow.
they had to tear the whole thing out.
We never see the contracts. We never see the real estate contract. We don't see the soils and geo reports. We don't see the inspections. We don't see any of that, nor do we need it.
Any questions, title guys? Because, it's title is the thing that you don't really see going on. It's insurance. Buyers getting insurance that they are the owner of the property. That's a big deal. If you're buying a property, you want to make sure no one else has a claim to your property. So that's why it's so important to have title insurance.
That's where you're gonna find out if somebody else is on the, let's say, if you sign the listing agreement and all of a sudden they check and they see that there's an uncle or someone
Right,
for
so-
that.
So what's gonna happen is you guys open an escrow. One of the escrow documents that's gonna go immediately to the buyer and to the seller is called the statement of information. And the buyer is gonna fill one out and the seller is gonna fill one out. That goes to title. Title is gonna make sure that
Confirms it.
that
Matches it.
JJ Wallack is this JJ Wallack and not the JJ Wallack in New York or the one in Chicago or the one in Texas. They need to make sure that it's me. So obviously on the statement of information, my birth year, where I grew up, my previous residences, where I currently work. So then when I go to, right, so
We're covering matters of record, recorded documents, and we're covering matters off record. Those liens and judgments, which is why we need the statement of information, the SI, because of common names, JJ Wallack. Is there another one around? So we need to make sure we are attaching the IRS lien that belongs to this guy, the franchise tax for this guy, the judgment from the Discover card you didn't pay, it's our guy. So we're gonna ask for social security, driver's license, blah, blah, blah. If it's not a very common name, we sometimes don't require it, but most of the time we'll require. it.
what happens in the event that one of our sellers has an IRS lien?
We are responsible for noting it, collecting it at close, making sure it's paid, and the paperwork, the release of it is there. Because if we miss it, we just bought it.
So is the IRS recording something against the property or the person?
So JJ Wallack has an IRS lien. The IRS does not need to go find every property JJ owns. Don't need to do that. They have a judgment against his name, show up on his credit report, right? So when he goes to sell a property, we at title say, oh, the property is owned by XYZ Corporation, but it was owned by JJ for 5 minutes until he signed it over. No insurance. He signed it over to that corporate, whatever he did, whether it's in his name or not, he was on title for 5 minutes. It's now our responsibility to find any off record, again, the SI, driver's license, social security, to find any lien or judgment off record, bring it into the transaction. Let's say he has another property that has a tax lien on it. Even though we're dealing with property A, property B has a tax lien. That property B tax lien will go into the report because it hits his name. It is unsecured, not against the real estate, but it's our job as an insurance company to find it, bring it in, and it must be paid.
I was recently involved in a transaction where the seller, it popped up that there was a $1 million tax lien.
Anything left after that?
Right, exactly. That's the question.
Was it legitimate?
So it was the wrong person.
Yeah.
Same name, wrong person.
Let's say it is our person. What do we do?
What do we do?
You walk away, they say, someone's got $1 million IRS lien. In the house, or you're gonna net $500,000. That person's gonna net $500,000, but they've gotta, you walk away, can't sell it now, dead.
We do.
Well,
You know,
Can they pay it before?
this is what we do.
Lauren does.
Is what I, yeah, no, we don't walk away from anything. So what'll happen is we will, escrow really gets involved, although I would suggest that the seller retain an attorney, because an attorney will negotiate with the IRS on seller's behalf. The IRS will want an estimated closing statement of the seller to see exactly what that seller is going to net. The IRS will mostly allow commissions, closing costs, all that, some reasonable moving expenses. But then the IRS will grab everything else. They'll take whatever's left of the proceeds. They'll allow the house to sell. The remainder of the balance of that $1 million lien will be just against this seller as, again, an unsecured lien.
So can't the seller just back out and say, I don't want to sell the property and then just refi, take the money and?
Refi, you're in the same situation. Then the IRS lien will pop up and you're back to square one.
Are you seeing any, are you seeing are you seeing foreclosures,
Really?
REOs, no?
Really, the numbers really are not anything spectacular or large.
Do you
It's like point, it's point something of the total market.
are you predicting anything like that or?
No, because lending has gotten so good after the crash of '08. There's more skin in the game. The rules are tighter for lending. Those stated loans went away. So there's a lot more equity in properties now because there has been a rise in the last 5+ years.
So all
value.
the loans that were made, property has gone up since those loans were made.
They're more quality loans, and there's been such a rise in value that anybody that really finds himself in trouble should be able to just list it and sell it.
When I open on the system, go to a bank, I can never get to the asset manager. What can I do?
They're not there. They're not in a branch.
Where can I go to get?
They're in corporate. They're in corporate.
They're
Is it worth our time to make asset manager relationships now, or you don't see that happening now?
Because there's not a big foreclosure market, I don't see the time reward of chasing asset managers. Asset managers don't want to be contacted by design. They have a pipeline of people that have been nipping at them for years and years and years. So you'll just kind of have to get in line and you'll have to prove yourself with broker price opinions and do a lot of grunt work to eventually get to the place where if they have an REO in your designated area, that you get lucky enough that they give it to you. And by that time, I notice asset managers, they're like musical chairs. They go.
So, asset, how do you do that with the corporate, bank? I mean, how do you do that? I mean, is it the corporate offices for?
They're just hard to get to, Richard. You just
Yeah.
gotta use your ingenuity and
the?
hopefully someone puts you in contact with the right person. Befriend someone else at the bank. And they have the roster and they can just give you, hopefully they can point you in the right
But
direction.
you'll start by doing broker price opinions.
Yeah, BPOs. You can get paid for BPOs.
Or just have to master the CMA. Yeah,
Yeah, master the CMA. Yeah.
that's where I need to master your.
Any other parting wisdom? There you go. All right.
Well, I think like the thing that you'll encounter often is the vesting of a property. Who owns it? Somebody died, divorces, LLCs or corporations that have infighting. Whatever the ownership story is, we cut to the chase of that by the documents. So you will look at the MLS cover sheet. You'll look at a title company's cover sheet, a property profile cover sheet, and you'll be more confused on what you have. And then if you're wrong, right? You'll be chasing somebody that either owns just a portion of the property or maybe none of it, or they don't have the right, whatever it is. Vesting is extremely important. If there's ever any question of vesting, contact me, give me the story, because I'm just looking at public record documents. So you need to tell me, Bob and Mary Smith, but Bob is deceased. So now I know what I got. You know, it's Mary. How are they vested? Are they joint tenants? Are they community property with right of survivorship? Are they in a trust? What's the story? And I can tell you by document whose signature you'll need. So that's first of all.
I came across a deal last week. The property is owned by an LLC. And the owners of the LLC are two separate trusts.
So so if a property's in an LLC, perfectly fine. We want the entity documents. They're not public record. So we need that from the sellers. The entity documents will tell us kind of who's in charge. What's the management structure of the LLC? Is it a single person LLC? Is it just JJ that is in charge of this LLC? Is it a single asset LLC? Is it just a property? Because investors, flippers, whatever, they'll create an LLC as a single asset LLC, nothing but the property. So we want to know if it's just one person. Is it two people? Who's in charge? Whose signature is it? One of them, both of them? Is it a structure like two trusts? That's fine. Then we're going to need copies of the trust to see who's authorized to sign. So we keep peeling it back to get to the right signatures.
Any issues you're seeing, foreign nationals, people that don't have US passports or social security numbers, wiring money from out of the country and
We don't ask where money comes in from. Although if you pay cash for something and go into an LLC, the feds want to know who you are. That's an item in every prelim, prevents money laundering, right? If you pay all cash, but take title in your name, you don't have to let the feds know who you are. If you're, bless you, if you have a loan, it doesn't matter how you take title, you don't have to let the feds know who you are. So that's just something that again prevents money laundering.
so, but you have no issues with a foreigner taking title?
Oh, I mean, when they go in is much easier. When they go out is a little more difficult because if they're foreigner, have they filed their taxes? What kind of withholding? That's mostly in escrow ballpark. But
But you'll give title to, someone has to prove ID, you'll take their foreign ID, foreign passport.
Yeah. it's a lot of times we want the notary to be a First American approved notary. We have a whole long list of companies that are approved with us. You can't just go to mailboxes, et cetera, and get notarized. That's a no-no.
If our clients are out of the country,
If they're a US citizen, this is a law change of about a year ago. We were the first to adopt it. A lot of title companies have now gotten on board. It's called remote online notary. So if there's a seller that's living in Paris, living in Asia, I don't care where they are, but they're a US citizen, they can be notarized remote online. So it's very sophisticated, but there will be a list of questions that only they know. And they go through a whole list of things.
by the way, if you had a seller in the past that was out of the country and they needed to have a sign a grant deed, they would have to make an appointment with the local US consulate, which could take a very long time just to get an appointment.
COVID threw that on its head. But now, if a US citizen, we can sign grant deeds via remote online. We can sign loan docs via remote online. If any of these people are not US citizens, I've done it before, but it's management approval, but normally they're back at the consulate.
Oh, interesting.
And I think we need, hold on, Richard, but I think we need to touch on the vesting and if something's going to go to probate or not. If something's in a trust, when we need a copy of the trust, who successor trustees are, what their rights are, copies of death certificates. So I think initially when you go on a listing, one of the most important things is to cut to the chase again of who signs. But if somebody's deceased, how is title held? Were they joint tenants? You got husband and wife joint tenants. Husband dies, wife gets the property. Wife dies, probate. Okay, but if they're husband and wife in a trust, co-trustees of their trust, husband dies, she is successor trustee. Okay, and I'm sorry, that was wrong. She is now the sole trustee, and then when she passes, it goes to the successor trustee, and we need the copy of the trust to determine who's successor trustee. Copy of death certificates, of course, get recorded. Affidavit death of trustee. Sometimes it happens when you run to an attorney, establishes the basis, but a lot of times it happens in escrow. But again, it's our job to see if it's probate or not, or if it's in a trust, right, successor trustee, and then it can avoid probate. We'll let that successor trustee sign. What's also important in our world is husband and wife as joint tenants. Husband dies, wife is surviving joint tenant. Now the wife mentally is no longer there. She had a stroke, Alzheimer's. Kids want to sell the property. Okay, that gets difficult because she can't contract. She can't sign anything. She's not capable of handling her affairs. So what happens? That's where if they are in a trust, all the trusts have provisions for mental incapacity. Couple doctor's notes and a copy of the trust, and will allow successor trustee to take over. If they're not in a trust, and the wife again is going to be going to a home or whatever they want to sell the property for, if there's no power of attorney, so now who handles her affairs? That's where it gets difficult. Sometimes the court needs to get involved, and you don't want to hear that. When you're going for a listing, you don't want to hear that now the court has to get involved and they're going to establish a conservator for her. How many kids are there? Who gets the money? They all understand that this is being sold. We kind of try to get everybody in line to prevent any infighting. And a lot of times we'll, listen, we're in the business of doing deals, but we're very conscious of elder abuse, elder fraud. So it's something that will happen to you in your careers. We got to navigate that minefield.
Just as a random, you get I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
What is the price normally for example, First American that they charge the lender for title?
So I'm glad you asked. So we're regulated by Sacramento, by Department of Insurance. So we cannot, nobody in California can just make up pricing. All right. So on $1 million single family home, we charge X. Okay. And another company will come along and say on $1 million home, they'll charge X plus $25. Somebody will say X minus 20. We're all basically right there. It's a posted rate state. So on $1 million sale, probably like $2,500, $2,800, something like that. And all the companies, again, are right there because they have to have reserves. They have to charge a certain amount. You can't find, if somebody comes along and I'm at 2,500 and they come along at 1,500, red flag. I mean, they're doing something that they know is not right. You must charge what's posted with the state. We tell the state what we want to charge and they accept it, but you must charge. Now, somebody's $25 less than me, they're $50 less than me. Can I lower my fee $50 and match them? Not allowed. Not allowed, nor am I allowed to raise it. It is what it is.
Thank you.
Just one other question for me. I am a notary and an on-site and agent. How do I go about getting on your list in your company?
It's processed. So there's a division within the company that handles onboarding new notaries. And they have a good stable of notaries. But I can point you to the person. You have to apply and kind of get in line with them.
Okay, do you need my contact?
And usually escrow is also picking a notary, right?
Yeah, escrow, this is where relationships come in. Most of the escrows we know have a relationship with. When they notarize somebody, we're good with it. Sometimes, again, we want the First American approved notary. But a lot
So is escrow, so if escrow is sending out a mobile notary, are they supposed to look on your website for an approved notary?
No, not unless we see, literally, we are matching signatures. So we have the wife, let's say, who's selling the property. We see a signature on a loan that she took out 10 years ago. And today her signature looks nothing like the signature today. Somebody at the office, an underwriter, will look at these two signatures and go, oh, I don't like that. Did she sign it like she's not all there? That's something. And then it looks really like nothing like this. We'll say, guys, go get this done again and have our notary go out and do it.
This part doesn't have my notary email address. I have one in my phone. I could text you.
Email it to me.
Okay.
It's the best, because then I can send it on.
Yeah, because
So how do people reach you, Lauren?
I've got cards here if you want to reach me, but you guys will probably see me here every day. I got an office across the street. I've been here since this office opened. And
I just want to have my state and my notary. Yes.
So have you guys heard of Fat Cola? You ever heard of that? Fat Cola? So it's First American Title Company in Los Angeles, right?
you're Fat Cola forever.
Fat Cola, so
The Coca-Cola signature thing, you're Fat Cola forever.
Fat Cola is like the biggest title company advertiser everywhere, Fat Cola, like everyone knew Fat.
We are not the guy on the corner selling you an insurance policy. We're the insurance company. We're not the guy in the corner selling you an Allstate policy. We're kind of Allstate. What that means to you is that we make our own risk decisions. We decide what flies and what doesn't. And I'm the number one individual rep in the company, so I can throw some weight around and I can go in and let's all agree the West Side is very kind of crazy and litigious and there's a lot of moving parts for title. I can go to the company and say, this is what we have, this is where we need to get to, and this is how we need to get there. Are you okay with that? And I can kind of fit the puzzle together and make it work. We're a smaller company that has underwriters they need to go to the underwriter who's basically gonna say, no, I don't really like that, but I'll do it if you do A, B, C, D, and E. And with me, I just give me A and I'm good. It's that kind of thing. My job is to make it easy, kind of painless, and I want to be in the background and not cause any headaches in the
So
transaction.
just so you guys know, like cash buyers that I've dealt with in the past, they've willing to buy a property, no contingencies at all, except approval of title report. So those cash buyers, the title report was the most important thing that they saw buying a property. If they're just buying a property for cash to tear down and build, whatever it is, they just want to approve the title report. Like that was the most important thing to my cash buyer. And people, these are seasoned people that are professional buyers. That was the one thing they didn't want to risk. They wanted to approve title.
They want to see, mostly those guys want to see the easements on the property. Where are the utility easements? Do they have a right to go through the envelope of the property? Is there a sewer easement from the guy in the hill above that goes down through me? Where are the easements? I will say that this ALT homeowner policy that I talked about, that is the kind of the standard, is really good. If a buyer wants to get a survey and bring that survey to title, not a lot line survey, not a topographical, but what's called an ALTA survey, which is every potted plant on the property. We'll take that survey. We'll work with the surveyor to make sure that everything is kind of buttoned up and correct. But then at the end of it, we will insure the survey. What's most important about insuring a survey is ensuring the boundary lines. Because right now, boundary lines are not insured. We can tell you on a map that it's 120 feet this way and 50 feet this way, but where that 120 starts and ends, we don't know, right? We don't go to the property. We go to the property for inspections on contractors and stuff. That's a whole nother discussion on contractors. But we never survey. We don't know where the beginning and ending points of that map are, but a surveyor does because they've been to the property. So we will take again that survey and we'll insure the survey. It costs a little more to do that. It's the difference paid by the buyer because they want it. Why do they do this? A lot of high-end properties do it because attorneys tell them to, right? And a survey will cost you 5-10 grand, right? So not every buyer is going to do that. But if builders will do it because they want their lot lines insured, they want to know that they're getting X amount of property so they can do their floor to area ratio for building and safety. And when they go submit their plans, and they're guaranteed that they have what they have. There's no surprises where the lot all of a sudden gets squeezed a little bit. Therefore, they can't build what they want to build and their numbers. So we will insure surveys, and that is called an ALTA extended policy. Again,
Are there
a
any
little bit
examples?
more.
Are there any examples of add-ons that I should know about?
There's like in any insurance product, there's endorsements that add on like a rider onto the policy.
What about a common one if someone is representing a flipper? They can get a binder?
Binder, that's not an endorsement, but it's the right to resell the property within 2 years at a discounted title rate.
So if you guys are representing a buyer whose intention is to resell the property within 2 years, they can buy a binder. And
when they go to resell it within that 2-year period, they'll get a huge discount on title.
discount on title.
Say it's that $2,500 number paid by the seller for the $1 million property. Seller pays that $2,500. The buyer, say they're all cash, they don't pay anything for title, but then the buyer improves the property and flips it and sells it for $1.5 million. Okay, so at $1.5 million, it's $3,000 in title fee. Okay, so instead of paying $3,000, when they purchase the property, will pay 10% but in addition to the $2,500, so they'll pay $250. The buyer at the time they buy $250, but then within 2 years, when they go to sell it at $1.5 million, instead of paying $3,000, they'll pay the difference between the $2,500 and the $3,000. So they'll pay $500 for title. You factor in the $250 they paid up front, so there's $750 for title as opposed to $3,000.
So just remember, if you guys are representing a flipper, ask them if they want to buy a binder.
And if they don't sell it within the 2 years,
Then they lost this little binder money, but
but they're married to the title company that they buy the binder with.
A binder.
If they use First American on the purchase and they pay the $250 to First American, then they have to come back to First American to exercise that binder because they prepaid for that.
Any other endorsements we should know about?
It's great.
Most endorsements honestly are called out by the lender. So lenders say, I want endorsement for this, I want endorsement for that. But we play with the lender mostly for endorsements. Policy itself covers most issues. The biggest issue, which you didn't touch on, is mechanics lien. Contractors have the right to lien a property, even if they haven't been paid yet. Again, that's a whole nother discussion, but contractors can go and they can lien the property today. They can just go record something today and mess you up. So, because they can't repossess stuff, right? So they have that special right. Like I can't go and lien your property. Can't do it. I mean, it takes your signature to lien, but with a contractor's license, I can lien your property. As a matter of fact, I can start foreclosing on your property, a contractor. 9255 Doheny, that building. You know what's going on there? Oh, this is a lot of fun. So 9255 Doheny is a building that we all should know, big building. They contracted with a plumbing company to do a lot of work in the building. $800,000 and probably more of plumbing work in that building.
Where is this?
On Doheny,
Doheny and what?
Doheny and right across from
Doheny
it's
and
like it's right before right when you get up Beverly Hills.
up by Sunset.
Yeah, it's
Halfway down, coming down Sunset towards Santa Monica.
it's the steakhouse that I'm forget. It's right across the street.
Oh, it's when you're like
Okay.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what's up with that?
So almost
Yeah.
$1 million of plumbing went down in this building. The HOA and the plumbing company completely butted heads. Lawsuits started flying. And what did the contractor do? The contractor just can't just sit there and wait for them to get paid or for this to be resolved in court. They filed a mechanics lien against every unit in that building. So every unit in there has a document that says mechanics lien, you owe me money. If you were to sell a unit in this building, you have to deal with that. The HOA is not going to stand behind you and guarantee any of this stuff. The HOA, have thrown it to the owners. So I closed a deal in there this has been going on for a while. I closed a deal in there a couple months ago where I had to take seller proceeds, hold it, we're still holding it, and give the buyer clean title of this mechanics lien. Now that these contractors have upped it and started foreclosing, which they have the right to do, if we were to do that again, we would need to hold a lot more money and we would need assurance from the HOA's attorney on when the end date of this is. We want this to be over. We don't want to hold money forever, right? We're not in the holding money business. So we'll play with you. Our underwriters will accept holding money because what happens when we hold money, we cover our behinds, right?
By the way, you need Lauren for this.
Yeah,
There are other title companies won't do this.
I got a refinance in there right now. There's no proceeds to hold in a refinance, right? There's no profit to the seller in a refinance. So how am I going to get this refi done? The borrower is going to write a check and hold 20 grand or more to be able to refinance. And then we want assurance from the HOA's attorney about when this thing is going to end. But this is the power of a contractor. The contractor, big or small, can mess up a transaction. Not only can you not ignore them, it must be settled. I need a document getting rid of that mechanics lien, just like a lawsuit. You settle a lawsuit, that's great, but I need a document to remove it from the title chain. But the contractors will start foreclosing on you, and that turns the heat up real hard. You can't just hold money most of the time on a mechanics lien. We deal with worst case scenarios, and the worst case scenario was, are they going to foreclose on something over a roof that they're arguing? Probably not, but an underwriter is going to say no.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren.
So
We never get to hear from title, like this is not something, this is great exposure because title, when we need to close our escrow, we're only getting paid if escrow closes. Otherwise, we're not getting paid.
10 deals you do. 9 of them, you'll be fine.
Lauren gets these
The
deals.
10th one.
Lauren gets these deals done. He gets these.
There's a prep work in the beginning to make sure that your deal is going to go smoothly, because if you and I don't collaborate and get that prep work in the beginning, expect a lot of bumpy roads ahead. But yeah, you will.
If you guys are ever selling a property in that
Yeah,
region right there.
You'll gain title in your career. I hope to help.
Somebody
If
that
you
owns,
guys are ever selling a property in that building, make sure you're asking for Lauren for title.
I know someone that owns the property in this building, so.
Which building, you know, that one in the
It's
south,
down there in the middle. Yeah.
that's what Sunset?
North of Sunset, yeah.
I think I know where that building
Yeah.
is.
It's a beautiful building. It's a beautiful building, really expensive.
Hey, I just texted you my information. I forgot to say, put me in. I found a few words I was so interested.
I got you. I'll leave a couple cards in case anyone wants me, but again, you'll see me walk through here every day, and I speak at the meetings on Tuesdays, and thanks, Lauren.
So you gonna give me the information? I hope I need to talk.
Sure, wants that notary business. We should all prospect like Richard.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so let's talk about escrow real quick. Again, when you think of escrow, just think neutral party. Escrow can't do anything without both sides agreeing to it. When you open escrow, oh, by the way, it doesn't matter when you open escrow, but as soon as you have an accepted offer, you can open escrow today or 5 days from now, or even 2 weeks from now. I mean, obviously you want to open escrow right away because money needs to get put into escrow. Escrow needs to give statements of information. Everyone needs to sign escrow instructions. But all the dates in your contract start from the day of acceptance, not from when escrow is open. Okay, so all contract dates start from the day of acceptance. Let's talk about Paley. So Paley is an awesome escrow officer. She has Shirley and Zach. They will get the job done. So this is what the seller is usually going to pay for is real estate commission on the listing side. Buyer is usually going to pay for real estate commission on the buying side. But what's going to end up happening is the buyer is going to ask the seller to pay the commission for both parties. So usually going to appear here. The seller will pay for the owner's title policy. So when we write our offers, we're asking the seller to pay for the title insurance for the buyer. Now, that is the main title policy. The seller is paying for the main policy. If the buyer is a cash buyer, no problem. No fees to the buyer for title. But if the buyer is getting a loan, then the buyer is going to insure their lender. Okay, so that's the difference. So the seller will pay for the owner's title policy. The buyer is going to pay for the lender's title policy. Both will pay a sub escrow fee, seller escrow fee, buyer escrow fee, right? So when I write my offers, I write each to pay the same low rate. The reason I put that as the way that I write that, each to pay the same low rate when I write an offer. Because I know a lot of listing agents out there are going to insist on using their title company, and I don't want them to get a great rate and my buyer get a horrible rate, right? So for escrow fee. So I want to make sure that we're both paying the same escrow fees. Keep it fair. Transfer taxes are usually going to get paid by a seller. In the city of Los Angeles, this is going to be about $5.10 per thousand. So on $1 million deal, it's going to be about $5,100. Yeah, I think, or $550, $5,500. The county's only $1.10. It's the city that's $4.40 per thousand. Beverly Hills has no city transfer tax. So the least expensive place to sell a property is Beverly Hills. You can believe that. HOA transfer document fees, we're always going to ask the seller to pay the HOA transfer fees. Sellers are usually going to pay for natural hazard report, pay off all the loans that comes off the seller's side. Interest accrued to the lender being paid, obviously. Termite. We don't talk about termite in our purchase contracts. CAR has made it so that buyers are going to, as part of their regular inspections. So as a buyer's agent, you're going to have a general inspection, sewer inspection, termite inspection. And then in your negotiation after inspections, you'll ask the seller to pay for termite. Hopefully it'll be on the seller side. Termite work. Usually the seller will pay for a home warranty. The home warranty is an insurance policy that protects the buyer. That the buyer will pay like a $90 service call. And whatever's wrong with any of the appliances, the plumbing, the electrical, the air conditioning, the pool equipment, they'll just pay the $90 service fee and the home warranty company will make whatever repairs is needed. Why would a seller pay $1,000 for this warranty? It'll prevent lawsuits from the buyer saying you didn't disclose to me something. Like, let's say you guys sell a property and it closes escrow and a week later the air conditioning fails. The buyer could sue the seller and say, you knew that it was on its last legs and you didn't disclose it and it died. I'm suing you for the $10,000 for the new air conditioning. Or the buyer can now call the home warranty company and for $90 get a whole new air conditioning system. So that's why a seller should pay for a home warranty for the buyer. Don't be nervous about asking the seller to pay $1,000 for this. Like, you're trying to make your offers as clean as possible. I've never seen a deal blow up over a home warranty. They're like, ask for it. The Lord was just saying judgments, tax liens, that's all gonna get paid off. Tax proration. So when you own a property, you have to pay property taxes. As a homeowner, you're gonna pay your property taxes in advance. If a buyer comes and buys the property, the buyer is gonna reimburse you for your prepaid property taxes. And escrow does all the prorations. So the seller will pay their prorated tax, what they owe. The buyer will pay their prorated tax, what they owe. Any homeowners association dues, recording charges, bonds, assessments, any delinquent property taxes, of course. Retrofitting. So when you hear the word retrofitting, you probably think about seismic retrofitting, earthquake. That's not what we're talking about here. Retrofitting here is going to be talking about smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, water heater straps, low flow toilets. That's what we're talking about when we talk about just in the normal course of selling a house. That's retro. So usually the seller will pay for that. Again, all of California, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide, and water heater strapping. And then depending on the city, low flow toilets, emergency earthquake gas shutoff valves. There's something that gets installed on the gas meter that if there's seismic activity, it shuts off the gas. So some cities require those things. Notary fees usually be paid by both sides. So on the buyer side, they'll pay their stuff, yeah. Usually what the buyer is gonna be paying for is their loan fees, their escrow fee, and they'll be paying, hopefully not for the home warranty, but they're gonna have to pay for an insurance policy. So right now in California, this is a really big deal. Your buyers right away need to apply for insurance and get the quote, because it could take some time to get the insurance policy. That's just really important right now. Make sure that now the lender will require an insurance policy to be in place from the day that they lend their money, they put their money in escrow. The insurance, the lender wants to make sure their money is going to be protected if there's a fire. Okay. So escrow, let's see, what is an escrow? Escrow is the deposit of money and documents by two or more parties with a neutral party. The escrow holder is the neutral party that holds the funds and documents until all contractual agreements or conditions have been satisfied. So how do we sell a property? What does that mean? There's going to be a document called a grant deed, and it says seller for valuable consideration hereby grants the property to buyer. And that piece of paper gets recorded with the county recorder. That's it. That's all it takes to sell a property. It's a grant deed that gets recorded. Now, if I'm selling my property to you, Sharon, I'm selling my property to you. Okay. And I have this grant deed signed, JJ to Sharon. Okay. Give me the money. So you're gonna say, JJ, give me the grant deed. And I'm gonna say, no, first give me the money, then I'll give you the grant
So we
deed.
need the escrow.
Right, we need the escrow.
They're
bill.
both.
Correct. So when escrow has my grant deed and they have your money, then they'll record the grant deed. Right, they'll record the grant deed and then give me the money. Yeah, so we need escrow for that. Escrow is also contacting the lender. They're contacting everybody, the HOA. They're in contact. Escrow has a big job.
So escrow is going electronic, then record the deed, right?
Yes, so that's something new. We have electronic deed transfer. It used to be that the title companies would actually go and stand online at the county recorder's office and be waiting and with all their papers to get stamped. But now we have electronic reporting. So I've had pretty early 10 a.m. confirmations. I used to sometimes wait till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock before we knew that the deed was accepted by the county recorder. So yeah, we have electronic now. Just know, like, when you have a buyer that wants to pay cash for property, just make sure that they're getting title insurance. It's really important. Let's see, it's a form of consumer protection. Yes, it's protecting both the buyer and the seller. They arrange safe delivery of funds and documents to the property recipient. Oh, by the way, when we write an offer, one of the disclosures in our offer is called the wire fraud disclosure. Make sure that your buyer contacts escrow and confirms the account number and routing number of where they're wiring their money before they send it. Wired money is not reversible. Okay, so once the money's gone, it's gone. There's an agent in this office whose father lost $500,000 from wire fraud. So what hackers do is they hack into the email of the escrow company. So if a hacker gets access to a username and password of an email account, they're monitoring all the email. Okay, they're just logging onto the inbox and they're seeing an agent email escrow, congratulations, we have a new escrow. And if I'm a hacker, I can send that agent my wire instructions. Congratulations, send the money here. So we want to, so what I would do is I would send the buyer, this is my escrow company, this is the escrow company's contact phone number. Call them at this number, not any number you get in your email. Call them at this number, text message, right? To confirm the account number and routing number that they're sending to. So please do that. Title insurance, don't need to talk anymore about that. Lauren gave us a lot of time. So we're gonna open the escrow, yay. We love that. So what happens is, when we send the contract to escrow is going to create a draft of the escrow instructions. We're going to go to you, the buyer's agent, or you, the listing agent, and the other agent. We're going to look at the escrow instructions. We're going to make sure the address is correct, the buyer and seller's names are correct, the date of acceptance is correct, the contingency dates are correct, commissions are correct, most importantly. And then we're going to respond, yes, everything looks okay. Or you're going to respond, no, this needs to be changed. One of the things that I do when I'm looking at the escrow instructions is I'll Google date calculator. This date calculator, add or subtract from a date. I use this when I'm calculating dates. So let's say we have an acceptance today. That's our start date. I'm going to click here and just go to today's date, 25th. Now I'm looking at my contract. We had 17 days, right? We have a 17-day contingencies, then we have a 30-day close of escrow. Fine. So all I'm going to do is here, I'm going to go 17 days, calculate new date. It falls on a Saturday. Okay. What happens when it falls on a Saturday? Does it get pushed back to Friday or does it get pushed forward to Monday? The contract says it gets pushed forward to Monday. And if Monday's a holiday, it gets pushed forward to Tuesday. So I'm gonna look at the calendar and say October 12th, okay, October 14th. So now I'm just gonna make sure October 14th is not a holiday. And I'm also gonna make sure that on the escrow instructions, if it's stating contingency dates, that it's saying October 14th, not the 12th. Okay, if I'm the listing agent, I don't care if it says October 12th. But if I'm the buyer's agent, I wanna make sure it says October 14th, protecting my buyer. All right. And then 30 days to do the same thing. I'll just put 30, calculate the date, and that lands on a Friday. That's fine. So just know, if this date lands on a Monday, the closing lands on a Monday, there are lenders that don't want to close on a Monday. They want to close on Tuesday. Because in order to close on Monday, they have to put the money in the day before, which means the lender is putting a ton of money
3 days.
into an escrow company over the weekend. They're not collecting interest on their money. Banks don't like to not collect interest. So just keep that in mind. If you see that this is landing on a Monday, call the lender and say, are you okay funding on a Friday and closing on Monday? You're not gonna get pushback from the listing agent if this gets pushed to Tuesday, if it lands on Monday. You're just do it up front. Don't do it at the end. Is my recommendation. Process in the escrow, yes, the escrow officer is gonna, they're gonna get all the principal signatures. So right away, when escrow opens, they're gonna send out that. Once you approve the draft of the escrow instructions and you say, yes, I approve, escrow is gonna send a seller package and a buyer package. In that package is gonna be that statement of information I talked about before. That the seller is gonna fill out and the buyer is gonna fill out. That's just so title knows who's who. Like if it's John Smith, they need to know which of the 1,000 John Smiths. So that's why it's important that statement information gets filled out and goes back to escrow, so escrow can send it to title.
So escrow send it to
Title.
buyer and seller or?
Escrow is gonna first send a package to the buyer and seller to fill out.
Right.
And then hopefully all that comes back to escrow quickly. And then escrow is gonna send the statement of information to title. Escrow may also send the entity documents to title. Escrow is gonna make sure that the buyer and seller are the right people signing. Right? If it's in a trust, they need to see the copy of the trust to make sure those people are authorized to sign on behalf of the trust or LLC. So they're gonna ask for those documents. What else? Live open escrow, yes. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, Realtor calls to open escrow, hooray. Signatures from buyer and seller are obtained on all documents. Escrow is gonna make sure there's a title policy. They're gonna review the preliminary report. They're gonna make sure that all liens or judgments are cleared in connection with the title company. They're also gonna talk to the lender, make sure that all conditions are satisfied with the lender. Have to also contact the HOA. So make sure if you open an escrow that the property's in an HOA, that escrow has the HOA contact information. Because there's gonna be a CCNRs, the bylaws, the minutes, the meeting minutes, all that has to go to the buyer. Then they're gonna review everything. They're gonna make sure, you know, if every escrow has a lot to do. They're gonna
Big
obtain the
job.
final funds for closing. They're gonna be in charge of getting the loan documents signed and making sure that gets back to the lender. They're gonna forward everything to the title company. Making sure that everyone is ready to close, and they're gonna perform. Yay. And that's when we drink, celebrate. Not Richard, Richard doesn't drink, but I am drinking. All right, guys, the last thing is, we're talking about the lender. So it is so important that you guys have a good lender on your deal. Whether you represent the buyer or the seller, if the lender can't make the loan, you're not getting paid. So we just want to make sure that there's a lender. Whenever I hear about a buyer wanting to use their own lender, you know,
What's a good lender?
my radar goes up. What's a good lender? Someone I can get on the phone. Okay,
No, it's a bank, a big bank or
so
our company
so
here.
if someone says that they're using Bank of America, I get a little scared.
Oh,
Unless they're already providing to me a B of A fully
please,
approved loan. Like, in order for someone to give you a
not
bank,
just the pre-approval.
right, for someone to give you a pre-approval from B of A, Wells Fargo, Citibank, those kinds of pre-approvals, they've already had to submit all their documentation. So that's actually very good. My concern is how long it's gonna take them to actually close. They're not well known for hitting their target dates. So they could be late on the loan approval, they could be late on the appraisal, they can be late on the closing. They're looking at the dates, but Rocket Mortgage, amazing. Like, I would really push. You might have a buyer that says, I'm using my own bank, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Yeah, I've seen Rocket close fast.
Seen them.
Yes, so. There's no harm in having Rocket be your backup lender. Just to have the buyer tell Ramin, I have this loan I'm applying for, but I want you to be my backup. As long as Ramin knows upfront that that he's the backup, it's a fine. If they get
He's preparing everything.
he's prepared. He'll prepare everything to be able to move in and take over. So if you have a deal that the lender at the last second is saying, I don't know if I can do this, immediately get your buyer in contact with Ramin. I mean, hopefully you're not waiting that long, but Ramin can literally close in 7 days.
But what are the best rates versus conventional bank? Let's say Ramin and Ramin is fast and they have many
I
benefits.
think his rates are really good up into 3 million. Now, if you have a buyer who has private banking, right? Like Chase Private Bank or Wells Fargo Private Bank. Those types of banks are usually gonna have better rates for those wealthy clients. Or there might be banks that say, move your money to our bank and it has to be here for 3 months or a month or whatever. Move $500,000 here, we'll give you a better rate. Or there are banks I've seen that say, if you open an account here and create an auto debit at our bank, we'll give you a better rate, like, 1/8 or a quarter better percentage rate. So, but I would always try to get your buyer to have a backup Rocket if they're not using as the primary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prime rates.
Prime rate, so it's gonna be prime rate plus. Prime rate plus, so everything is prime rate plus,
Nice.
so it's plus cost, plus the cost of living index or some index. That's usually how the rates are calculated. So that's all. I mean, just to understand, if there's no loan, there's no getting paid a commission, right? We want our deals to close. It bothers me if a lender is making stuff up, having excuses for delays. That is a red flag to me immediately. Immediately get them in contact with Rocket. Right, that's my advice. All right, guys, happy Wednesday. I'm not gonna be here in person tomorrow, but if you need me, I can work remotely, SOS. I have this like team viewer kind of thing, SOS. So if you need help with contracts, I can do it remotely from my laptop, and then I'll get here as soon as I can. I'm just not gonna be able to be here in the morning. That's it. Have a great day. Make your calls.
Thank you, JJ.
All right, thank you guys.